gambling can be seen as a professional skill in certain arenas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's like a profession for some can argue that it should be legal since it's basically like a job.
Forget the poker thing. Are there professional slots players? No, you wanna know why? Because if you play slots long enough, you're gonna lose, right? You can actually look up the payout schedules of the slot machines, right? And that might be 95%. So what that means is for every $100 that you play, on average, you're gonna win back $95. Does everybody understand that? So you tell me how much money you're gonna start with, and I can tell you approximately when you're gonna run out of money. Oh, in 3.5 hours, you're gonna be broke, right? Unless you defy the odds and get lucky, but keep playing and you will go broke, right? Okay, so why, and remember, once upon a time, we didn't have gambling here, but we did, and what was one of the reasons? They said, it's gonna bring in tax revenue, and it's gonna create jobs. Does everybody understand that? Did it create jobs? Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of jobs over there, right? And yes, they generate a lot of tax revenue, and what did they say? They say, and we're gonna use that to make our schools beautiful, and this and that and hot. I'm still waiting for that, right? They just get that extra money and they say, oh, we don't have to fund higher education, you know, so it becomes a net. They just give away the stuff in tax breaks to people who don't need them, but, okay. Capital punishment ought to be abolished. Any reasons why we should get, or everybody's a pro capital punisher? I don't care if you're.
You can say the state doesn't have the right to play God, I guess.
Okay, so taking another person's life is not up to humans, it's up to God. You could offer that as reason, but now notice that's only going to be compelling for people who have your same religious perspective. So someone who's not religious might say, well, that's neither here nor there to me, right? So can we come up with any secular reason?
It's technically murder, so it's also illegal.
Is it technically murder? If I break it into your house with a gun and I'm fixing to shoot you and you shoot me first, did you murder me?
Yes, that's the things.
I think there's a difference between murder and kill, right?
Yeah, yes. So there's murder, which is unjustified homicide, and then there's killing people, right? Like, unjustified homicide. Oh, in self-defense, right? Okay, but wait a second. Guys, capital punishment ought to be abolished. Do you think every person that we put to death was guilty?
No.
Right. We can make mistakes, right? And then once we put them to death, can we fix our mistake?
Nope.
Not even close. So remember, once upon a time, DNA evidence was speculative, right? DNA evidence was questioned in the OJ trial because it was new science then, right? But now we rely on it very heavily, and it's very reliable, right? So as DNA evidence gained standing, the state of Illinois said, you know, we got all these people on death row who have exhausted their appeal, so the next stop is death, right? And there happens to be some biological evidence that we've got boxed up from their trial that was never DNA tested because we didn't have DNA testing then. They don't have the right to demand that we test it, but just for fun, let's test it. And they did. And the evidence exonerated 50% of the people on death row who had exhausted their damn appeals. And that's when Illinois said, all right, time out. Everybody who's on death row, their sentence is now changed to life in prison. Because we're apparently not good enough at identifying people who are actually guilty such that we can, with a clean conscience, go ahead and execute people, because chances are 50-50 that the person is damn innocent. Right? Okay. So there's a reason. Also, look, which is cheaper, killing someone or keeping them in jail for the rest of their life? No, it's not cheaper killing them. Because before you kill them, you have to go through all these appeal processes. Does everybody understand that? And all those court expenses total up to more than it costs on average to keep someone in jail for the rest of their life. It's just cheaper. Okay, moving on. Abortions. Let's skip that one. Because we're going to get to that in a way in a little bit. 6, God doesn't exist. Now remember, you might say, well, but God does exist. I don't care about that. What I want to know is if you know why people who don't believe in God think that they're justified in not believing in God. And then, of course, you have to be able to poke holes in their arguments. Does everybody understand that? So, what are some reasons for being dubious about God's existence?
Evolution.
What?
Evolution.
So you think evolution and the Judeo-Christian tradition are incompatible? What?
I don't.
Oh, okay. So what you're going to say is some people say evolution is true and therefore Christianity can't be true, right? Can you be, well, let me put it this way. Do Catholics accept the possibility of evolution? Yes or no? Is Catholicism and evolution compatible? Yes or no? Are there any Catholics in the house?
I was baptized, but I haven't taken except stained glass.
What was my question I just asked?
Catholic and
Oh,
evolution.
yeah, the Catholic Church says evolution and Catholicism are compatible. Right? Now, why on earth did they do that? Was the Pope smoking crack? No, it's this. As the evidence for evolution piles up, if you don't find a way to make your religion and that scientific fact compatible with one another, then you're simply saying that your religion that denies this scientific fact is false. Does everybody understand that? It's the same kind of situation with Galileo. Once upon a time, Catholic Church said what? Earth was the center of the universe, everything went around us, right? But then Galileo was like, hey, take a look here. I'll show you that's not true. What'd they do? They threw him in house arrest for the rest of his life, right? But eventually, other people started looking in the skies and figuring it out too, right? And so the Catholic Church had to decide whether they were going to stick to their guns and say the Earth was the center of the universe and everything rotated around it, or they were going to go to a heliocentric model, right? So they had to say, our bad, heliocentric. Does everybody understand that, right? So they had to modify their view or what? Be falsified. Does everybody understand that?
Is that the argument? Is that the...
No, that's not the argument. We just got sidetracked. What are we arguing about? God doesn't exist? How about this? God's all powerful. God's all good. So God could eliminate all evil if he wanted to. And since he's all good, he should want to eliminate all evil. Therefore, there should be no evil in the world. But what? There is evil in the world, so that means either God is not all good or he's not all powerful. And the standard conception of God is that he's both, therefore that God does not exist. That's none of the problem of evil. Philosophy 251, if you're interested, or 351, I can't remember, I just teach it. Right? If you want to argue about those things at length. That's the problem of evil, and of course, there is a response called the free will defense, but that's for you when you take that next class with me, right? Okay. Would-be parents ought to be certified by the state before they're allowed to have children.
Certified as in what?
Fit, that you're fit enough to be a parent. Any reasons?
Be nice.
It would probably cut down on child abuse, right?
Foster care, adoption, there's entirely too many children in that system.
Right.
Well, a lot of, I mean, people grow up and do bad things, well, in general. Like, a lot of bad people that do bad things are not, like, growing up in a good home, or they're not developing emotionally, physically, and all
So if we had better parents, we'd have
with who they're
better,
surrounded with.
better outcomes. So we should prevent the idiots from breeding.
Yeah,
Having
Isn't that
children.
like a nature versus nurture argument?
and the children, from
Um,
breeding children.
I don't have to weigh in on that. I could say that, look, they might genetically pass on problems, and then also they're gonna create an environment that's not gonna be hospitable to raising an upstanding citizen, right? You have to have a permit to drive. How come you don't have to have a permit to kid? Okay. All right. So look, all of those, you can look at those and fight with your friends Friday night while you're drinking in your dorm room about these or whatnot, okay? But those really aren't germane to us because we were not gonna have test questions exactly like this. And we are done, at what time?
45.
10:45.